Hey guys, welcome into another episode of From the Wing. I'm Christian Clark, the Pelicans beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. We've got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about the Pelicans beatdown in Brooklyn of the Nets. I'm sure we're going to get into Zion Williamson's alley-oop. Oh my God. And just his overall play. We're going to talk about Brandon Ingram's role on this team. The numbers have gone down, but the impact has been really, really high. We're going to do another national media temperature check. Then I guess we're going to make some predictions. Do you think the Pelicans can win 50 games this season? Because it it really looks like it's within reach. I don't know, but it really is right there for the taking at this point. Adam, I was in Brooklyn. I, let me just start with this. Like I had so much confidence the Pelicans would take care of business in this game. Like I just knew they were not going to mess around. I just knew they were going to come into this and like beat this team pretty handily. I just had that confidence, and it's a weird place to be in. My buddy Scott Kushner tweeted something along the same lines. He's like, it's weird to come into these games where it's like the Pelicans are going to beat the crap out of these teams. Have you, as you have you as a Pelicans fan like bet in this place ever with this team?
I mean, not since Chris Paul. Like it's been that long. Because like in the two incredible Chris Paul seasons, yeah, you expected to beat bad teams and you just did. And he did this very, very unique thing where his game in a very Jokic like way was whatever you needed it to be on a given night to beat that team. If he needed to score 30, he did. If it needed to be 18 and 15 assists, it was. If you needed it to be 6 steals in a game and 95% from the line on 10 attempts, it was. That was like an uncanny time, but like we weren't even prepared as a basketball city for that. We were just got to ride high like right out the gate, and it was a fun time because it was unexpected. This, especially just after what we've gone through as a franchise since, where the best we've had is middling, and by middling I mean like really like dragging into potential playoff contention. Playoff contention and play-in contention has not been a debate for quite a while now. The hypothesis now is shifting towards like, do they take the 4 seed? And I feel like they do.
Oh wow, you do.
And that's it. Just a crazy. It's all a crazy place to be.
You're
And
aware that the Pelicans are going to play OKC, Milwaukee, Boston, and Phoenix and
yep,
Orlando in consecutive games.
yeah. I'm not worried about. So I have segments that we have a 4-game stretch coming up against like the top of the East, including the 2-game back-to-back in Florida.
He's
The
not worried about
back-to-back,
Boston.
No, I
I'm just
think we're getting 2 out of those 4. I truly am not concerned with OKC in the way that most people are concerned with them. And I'm going to struggle to get there. I understand how great they are. I watch them dominate people all the time. I understand the incredibly high floor. I've also just seen us give Shea problems with the perimeter defense that we have. And when you do that, like they kind of need something that doesn't usually work for them to happen. They need great 3-point shooting, which is not a thing that they really do that well. I am intrigued, though. Gordon Hayward started to kick on a little bit there. That's a very different thing for them that they have not had. So, maybe I'll get scared, but I am not. And then, yeah, I feel like we owe Phoenix. I'm excited to play Phoenix. I feel like we own Sacramento. If we get to set those last 3 games and we need that Sacramento game for 50, I feel great about that. Get the 5-game sweep.
I feel like we need a name for a 5-game sweep. Like
Yeah.
the gentleman's sweep is you beat a team 4-1 in a series. Is there we need to come up with a good name for when you just win all 5 regular season meetings against a team, assuming that happened against Sacramento. Well,
All right, we're gonna workshop that.
we'll think on it. We'll think on it.
We're gonna workshop that. But so this game, yeah, I feel good about the path. I know there's some tough stuff in there, and it's not the easiest schedule in the world. But the back-to-backs, it's 2. One of them's a West Coast back-to-back, but Sacramento's on the front end, not the back end. And like, Miami's not a great place right now at all. Orlando's playing pretty well. I like how we match up against them. They've been kind of a weird team for us. Like Orlando's been an up and down matchup for us. I can't say we should predict we'll beat them. We don't know. But yeah, I feel good about it. I just do. They're playing really incredible on defense, and BI and Zion have been consistently raising the floor more and more as games have gone on. And we're just seeing stuff now, especially defensively, like the 3-point shooting from the guys that weren't supposed to be shooters, like Herb, like it's still happening. Like Herb is still knocking them down.
Jose and Najee knocking down threes been a low key, kind of significant part of all of this. Those guys just like shooting the three pretty well this year and, playing their usual defense.
Yeah. It just, the stuff that you like might have been nervous about 30 games in is just all still there. And the stars are being stars. And for the first time that we know of, the first time that we can remember, they are both at the same time doing all the small stuff, all the defending. Anyway, Brooklyn. The words that came into my mind watching this after the first quarter, casual dominance. Like they did not look like they were trying all that hard and look like they knew they were going to win from the start to the end. And it was never like, even after the game was like well in hand, Zion is still chasing dudes down. He is still trying to force turnovers late in the fourth quarter before he finally gets subbed out. Like he looks like he wants every single stat that's out there for him, regardless of game situation. And that's just not a dude I've seen before.
Larry Nance Jr. had some great quotes on this exact topic after the game. And he was basically like, I have never seen Zion's focus level at the place it is at right now. He's like, he's just at an incredible level focus wise. And then I followed up and I was like, how can you tell? Can you provide an example? And he's like, he's sitting there at his locker, before the games. And like in the past, maybe he'd been yucking it up and he just got his music going and his eyes are cut. I think that was the words he used. His eyes are cut. I mean, I don't go in there before the games. I don't know if that's true or not, but like, I'm just gonna believe that's true because that sounds cool. Of like Zion with his beats in, listening to Jay-Z and Biggie, and like, I'm gonna kick the Brooklyn Nets ass tonight in his head. I don't know. You could just tell that the focus level is in a different place than it was in the past with him.
Yeah, it's so visible, and it does help that it's coming at the same time that we're seeing all of the eye-popping physical traits come back. And the telling thing that's across all the national media the last day or two is everybody being like, we were just hoping he got in good shape. This is Duke shape. Nobody was really planning for this to come back.
I mean,
he was already going to be dominant.
This is what needed to happen, and it's finally happening. This is what needed to happen. This is why people who understood what they were looking at were like so hardcore in December and were like, dude, this has to improve. Like, unless this changes, there's a ceiling on the Pelicans. I mean, there's a ceiling on what you could do. Like, it was just so clear that his potential was not being realized. And, like, it's amazing this is happening. Like, I was reaching the point where I'm like, man, there's been so many forest fires. I don't know if the vegetation is coming back. I see some wildflowers right now. I see like some saplings.
Little did you know, we burned the crop so that we could replant. And now we're flourishing. Little did you know. We did not salt the fields. We burned it so we could replant.
I was worried the fields were salted.
Weird angle we're going here. I was not planning on farming metaphors, but here we are. Yeah, man. Anyway, so Brooklyn highlights. Shout out to Larry. Larry comes out on a heater and just starts throwing ass all over the place and being super aggressive offensively. I think he either finished 5 of 6 or 6 of 7, and was just boxing dudes out left and right, just getting offensive rebounds over guys. They erased Nick Claxton from existence. Yeah, Brooklyn's not good. Brooklyn's really not good. I tweeted this out during the game. It's really odd to me how little public shaming Sean Marks has gotten for what this is. And he's just skating on this. And this team is a joke of a roster build still. He still just has all these B and C level pieces, isn't moving any of them anywhere. They don't have ball handling enough to run anything. And we're just going to super utilize Mikal Bridges to the point of breaking his game and just hope everybody maintains value.
Yeah, I mean, like a couple years ago, the Pelicans started Eric Bledsoe, who was like half of a corpse, and then Lonzo Ball in the backcourt. And Lonzo can be a valuable player and contribute to winning in the right context. Eric Bledsoe at that point was not, and whatever context he was going to be in was a net negative. But like, it was just hard for the Pelicans to be successful with that guard play. Like, they just didn't have guys who could do anything in the half court. And like when I look at this Nets roster, like they started Dennis Schroeder and Cam Thomas at guard the other night. I mean, to me, this Nets roster is just a classic example of what happens when there is not enough, I guess, creators and the mistake of thinking, a really high end role player is a star, and they're just not. It's different, I mean, you have to like just have that guy who can take the brunt of the possessions and create something for himself or others, and consistently create good looks. And they don't really have that guy. They don't have any of those guys. They kind of needed Ben Simmons to be that guy. Like, it was funny. I remember there was a reporter, Mark Spears, who's like, he's covered the league for a long time, and he went and watched the Nets in the preseason. And he was like, I remember him coming down to New Orleans, and he was like, Ben Simmons looked really good. Like, I think he's gonna have a good year. I think the Nets are like gonna be okay. Like, it looked like for a moment there, it was like, okay, well, maybe, but like nothing out of Ben Simmons, and that was who they're depending on to be a creator, and that hasn't happened at all.
But it couldn't be just Simmons. Like that, this is the depth we're talking about when we say lack of creation. It's that Dennis Smith Jr. is the next best option. And
Mm.
that's crazy. Like Cam Thomas is not a creator, period. And he's quickly becoming like the most overrated player in the NBA right now, just because he scores a lot. And we always do this. And it drives me nuts. I know he's an LSU guy. I watched him at LSU. Not a lot has changed. This is not like his game has grown so much. He scores a little bit differently than he did. His game is not that different. It's just hyper utilization because they got to have it because somebody's got to do it. And yeah, he's never going to be a defender. He's not a creator. He's just like one of those dudes that runs around and takes shots. He's really small. And now they're probably going to pay him because what else are they going to do?
Oh,
Weird, really weird stuff. But like that's what's left. Like him and Dennis Smith Jr. being the next creators behind a Simmons coin flip is insanity. And that was the plan. And they had opportunities to move these wings on multiple occasions to change that, and they just didn't. Over and over and over again during the KD trade, after the KD trade, move nobody because we have these weird price tags on everybody where we think they're all worth a pick more than they are. And you're stuck, and all of their values are plummeting. So I guess you just pay Claxton because you got to, and you pay Cam Thomas because you got to, and you're just sitting around staring, twiddling your thumbs, winning 30 games. It's going to be weird, but they're bad.
they are bad. It's depressing in there, man. I mean, it's this beautiful building, but all the seats are black and the court's gray and the team stinks. Like, it's just so blah. It is so blah. Like, that was definitely, it's taking the temperature of like a lot of different, people who watch them consistently. And it was just like, please, like, let us sim to the end of the regular season. The season has sucked.
And like the picks are gone too. Like their picks are in other people's control. Like they got some, but all of their picks are in Houston. Like, what are you gonna do?
I
Just
guess all of
this, more
Phoenix's
of this.
picks are in Brooklyn. So I guess what they're going to try to do is trade the Phoenix picks for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, that's what it sounds like
Look,
they're going to try to do.
people can keep telling me that, and if that's the option, like the whole Mitchell thing, if he either goes to a gutted New York Knicks with like whatever's left on the roster to get him there, or this Brooklyn with whatever has to be sent out, which I can't imagine you do that deal without McHale going out. I just don't know how you get to a value anybody would accept without him being there when you have so little. And like, if he goes, that's completely unserious. If that's the New York move, like that's preposterous. I know that's the thing and that's the rumor, but I've been struggling with that all year because I just don't think either of those spots make sense at all.
You talked about the
Anyway,
Nets depth. I want to talk about the Pelicans depth.
let's
Here's
do it.
here was a sign of just how good this bench is. Zion picked up 2 early fouls. He had to come out at the 8:02 mark. Who do the Pelicans bring in this place? They bring in Trey Murphy, this 6'10" guy who is just raining threes from 30 feet out and dunking on people and is just a killer anytime somebody has to close out on him right now, just like destroying those secondary actions. He's looking a little bit better on defense. I mean, Trey's just playing great basketball right now. Whatever he was going through, that slump earlier this season, that is long gone. This is the guy I thought we were going to get this season. It's been fantastic to see. It's like that's how good the Pelicans are, Adam. Like Zion can go to the bench with 2 early fouls, and you're bringing in Trey freaking Murphy, a team like everyone wants. Everyone wants Trey Murphy on their team. I've said it many times. Everyone wants a 6'10" guy who can dunk and make threes. It's just like the Pelicans are just blessed with a lot of talent. I mean, I think the bench points was like 28-9 in the first half, and it was once again how the Pelicans really created a lot of separation, which they never really gave up. I mean, I think the Nets got it to 13 in the fourth quarter on those Cam Thomas free throws. Zion don't foul jump shooter. And then Zion makes 3 straight shots, one of which is the alley-oop from Najee and just puts the game away. But the Pelicans' depth is incredible. Jose Alvarado said, he's like, I feel like we got the best bench in the NBA. They really might. I mean, they might. Like, the depth on this team is fantastic.
It's very reminiscent. I think maybe it was the title Raptors. I forget if it was them or not. I think it was them that had like the really filthy bench where they were like plus 12 on the season, where like no matter who they played, they just crushed everybody's backup units. That like it feels like that. And we have a noticeable thing every time we put Najee and Jose in, like every single game when there's an energy dip and you're like starting to get concerned on 4 or 5 possessions of like, okay, what are we doing here? Najee or Jose does something and everybody picks back up and everything's fine. But like they're the energy raisers when things like start to die down, we get a little complacent. They're the ones that do the crazy thing and get you all riled back up and keep everybody rolling. So yeah, it's been visible. But one of the things that has not been, I guess, as visible or as talked about. So we're talking about Zion. We hit on Zion. We've talked a little bit. We've celebrated CJ and the complete change of his role and how successful that's been. We've talked about the bench. We've talked about Trey, Herb's evolution. I don't think we've talked about BI a ton. And he's gone through like a bit of a metamorphosis himself. And I think he had a really tough ask this year in terms of the way his role started in the traditional experience that he had. And then the ask when Zion's healthy and ready to have the ball and what that means for him. And I think that was something we were worried about coming into the season was like, what does that look like? And it looks great. It looks really great. And we have the best defense we've ever seen from Brandon Ingram. And like everything you were ever worried about when it comes to contributing when he's not on the ball and when he's not just the go-to scorer is now there. And he has the best analytics of his career. So like his usage is a little down. His scoring's a little down. Everything else is up. For the most part, his counting stats are about the same with less usage. And his analytics, his net ratings up, highest of his career, assist to turnover ratio, highest of his career, effective field goal percentage, highest of his career. And it's been trending up. Like one of the things that I think it gets lost because you have a lot of emotion tied to Brandon and how his game changes and analytically how it fits. He's been trending up as an analytical player, like as a fit player for a long time. And this is just like it's crowning now at the perfect time when Zion is reaching a new peak.
So it's very clear. It's very clear that they've leaned into point Zion. It's very clear that CJ has embraced an off-ball scoring role. How would you describe what Brandon's role is right now?
So he is a part-time go-to scorer. He's the second guy. Like he is sometimes on ball. He is getting a share of ISOs. He's getting a share of initiation. But when him and Zion are out there, 70% of the time, Zion's going to be on the ball, especially in the third quarter. The third quarter is Zion's quarter. But when it comes to like the defense is like harshly set and is giving us fit for 3 possessions, it'll be BI getting the ball, and it's like, hey, dribble in there, get to your shot, go up. Or if he's got a mismatch, they punish the mismatch. If he gets a small and he's on the nail, rise up, go. It's a good shot. The 2-for-1s. If either Zion or BI has like a guy running alongside him during a 2-for-1 that looks like the mismatch, whichever one of them has it, that's who's getting the ball. If they can create something, great. If not, skip pass, get the shot up. He fits everywhere. He's relocating to the corners. He's stepping back behind the line when he flares out onto the wing. Like, it's a lot of little things that if you just looked at his volume stats and that's the only thing you care about, you might be like, oh, he's having a little bit of a down season. He's not. He fits everywhere, but especially the damn defense is great especially for him. He is getting everywhere on time. He's so long. That length is getting used. He is bothering guys. He is stopping entry passes. He's interrupting a lot of stuff on the fly, too, in the paint where he's moving into the way. And it's a level of defense we've never seen from him before. I know he had some defense and used that length well in LA. He's never used it well here. And we've seen it consistently now for a huge run of games. It's just here.
All of that, and he's playing. If assuming Brandon Ingram goes against the Orlando Magic on Thursday, which there's no reason to think he's not right now, it'll have been the most games he's played in a season since his rookie year. 63. It'll be the most games he's played in since his rookie season. Brandon has answered all the questions or criticism about hey man, you're not in the lineup enough. He has done it this year, and it's been a huge part of the Pelicans' success.
Yeah, man, it's wild. We start the season going, we're cautious, we're nervous, we're like, the line comes out from Vegas and it's like 43.5, and it goes up to 45, and you're like, it seems about right. That seems right. I get why they hold us there. But we're like, but if Zion and BI can play a shit ton of games this year, that could really blow up. But none of us actually believe that's going to happen until we see it. It's here. It's here.
I think this summer when we talked about the Aaron Nelson dismissal, we were like, there's a real possibility that absolutely nothing changes with this team, and they just get rid of Aaron Nelson and they win 50 games. And I think we said at the time, and I'm not even blaming it on him or anything. I'm just saying it's possible, and I'm not administering any blame or anything like that, but it kind of looks like that's going to happen. That they basically just yeah, let's just change the medical staff and then win 50 games, basically. To your point about Brandon, he is the one to me who has had to. Maybe Jonas Valanciunas. Maybe Jonas Valanciunas has been the player who's had to sacrifice the most in recent weeks. I think Brandon is probably second on the list of Pelicans who've been asked to sacrifice with Zion moving over to point guard a little bit more. And I couldn't be more pleased with the way he's filling in the gaps and, being a secondary scorer when Zion is doing point Zion stuff. But when Zion goes to the bench, hey, can you keep these bench units afloat and be the primary creator here? Well, yeah, he can do that. Can you get steals, get blocks with your insane wingspan? Yeah, he could do that. Can you be a great playmaker? I mean, he's been doing that. I mean, they're asking him to do a lot of different things. The role changes within the game. And I mean, he's been fantastic.
And we're talking about in the beginning of the season, the hope is that Willie finds the right lineups and stagger to kind of keep BI and Zion away from each other enough for them both to shine. I didn't even really imagine them getting to the point where they work this well, because I thought it was a long shot to say that both of them would buy into the same this same intense level where they're giving you a defensive output that's so reliable now that you're able to get creative with what fits around them and how you float them. It has now become kind of a non-concern of the stagger and keeping them separate. It's now a feature. It has become an embarrassment of offensive riches. And I didn't even think that was a reasonable expectation at the start of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it feels like it's not just it still remains, like, not a perfect fit with the Pelican
Sure.
starters, but they're doing all the things they can do to make that the best fit possible. Like, it feels like everyone is controlling what they can control and, like, adapting their role in the best way to make these they're not, like, ill-fitting puzzle pieces, but it's not like a fits like a glove thing, like the Jokic Murray two-man game or anything. Like, there's just not that here, but it feels like everyone is doing the best they can to make it work. CJ has basically stopped taking long twos. He's only launching threes. Brandon shifted a little bit off ball and, can still like toggle on ball and Zion's on the bench. Like everyone is doing what they can to make it the best fit possible.
They have decided to make this work as best as they can and see it out. And we talked about it a little bit on the last pod. I think the position that's not ideal is the five, and I don't think there's a lot of remedy for it. I think the analytics say that when you switch JV and Larry out, the product's not that different. I think it's because it's kind of two not great options, and you're just kind of picking variety over sit and drop. I can show you more different types of looks if you're killing me with stuff if Larry's out there than I can with JV. But JV's, he gives you a more reliable first look. So I think that's the part of the stuff. But like you said, like they are giving you everything you want to see. Like this is the thing you have to do when you have two stars on the team and the contracts are up for grabs and all this stuff. You got to know what you have. This is the first real season of looking at it hard and saying we are finding out what we have here, and we're seeing it improve right now. And like we're getting to places that we haven't been. So let's keep finding out. Let's see how far we can push it.
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks ago. Malika Andrews on the ESPN Today show was like, and we'll see this summer with the Pels. Like they might have to make a decision about Zion or Brandon Ingram, and I think a lot of people felt that way. And now, like with the way things have gone the past few weeks, like I'm like, okay, like I feel like you got to like let this partnership continue. I mean, these guys are making it work right now, and they're both just really good. I mean, they're just super talented and they're both playing. So it's like I've seen enough for the past few weeks where like I've just changed my opinion about what the Pelican ceiling is. I think a few weeks ago I would not have liked their chances of winning a playoff series at all. And I feel, I don't know if I'm gonna pick them. We'll see who they play, but I just feel a lot better about their chances of like actually winning a playoff series if and when they get there, and just about, that pairing between Brandon and Zion.
I'm a homer. I'm going to pick them against everybody but Denver.
Hey, man. I mean, at the beginning of the season, it was like, hey, look, I think Hollinger wrote this thing that was like, the Pelicans could be like an absolute dumpster fire, or they could make it to the Western Conference Finals. And like, yeah, we've seen, a wide range of outcomes this season. We saw them look dumpster fiery very early in the season, and it's been the opposite lately. Like lately, it's been like, could this team catch the right matchups and make it to the Western Conference Finals? I mean, it really is a wide range of outcomes with this team.
And that's the only thing that annoys you is like, really, guys, we really like this is like me in high school when I had a paper due and I knew for a month that it was going to be due and I did nothing until the 2 days before the final draft was due. This is them. Over the course of the last 5 years, they knew the paper was going to be due at some point, and right at the last minute, they have crammed it in there. They stayed up. They are burning at both ends. They got somebody's Adderall. They popped it, and off we go. It's 5 a.m., and we are going to kill this thing. We may not get an A, but we feel pretty good about a B. We feel pretty good about it. I think we're going to get it. And, it's not maybe the healthiest way to go about it, but we're here. Either way, the result is the result.
Do high school and college kids still take Adderall? I mean, I don't know
Absolutely.
any of them. Okay, is it still a thing?
Absolutely.
I didn't know if
Yeah.
they've moved
Yeah.
on to like superior drugs, or if they're
No.
just like, hey, this is like diet meth. We definitely should be doing this. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think Adderall is still king. Inform us if not. If anybody has any info on that and wants to wants to share, please
But
hit us up
actually,
on Twitter,
maybe don't put
DM
that in
us.
the comments because you don't want to get your
Yeah.
door kicked in
Not in
by
the
like.
comments. Yeah, don't invite like the ATF to your doorstep, be smart about that. Adderall in bio, something like that.
I mean, every response to like I tweet I get now is another version of something in bio. I won't say, but it's like, man, it is a mess on Twitter right now. It is it's
Oh, he
a
took it over to get
cesspool.
rid of the bots though. And they're just it's the war on the bots. That's all this was for. It was for freedom and the bots.
Oh man. All right,
All
Adam.
right.
Well, let's do another national media temperature check. Everyone is all in on the Pelicans. It's pretty hilarious to see. Like Big Perk is on the bandwagon. I mean, all the talking heads are. The only one who isn't is Colin Cowherd. Let me ask you this: do you care? Does it matter to you? Do you need the national media's approval? Does it feel good when they say you're a pretty girl?
Look, it's fun. For me, I mean, I look at it differently because I have like a warped sensibility now, having like watched them as anal retentively as I have over the years. It's like a bar of performance for me. Like they don't want to talk. Like, look at the way the NBA is talked about and is marketed. They want to steer this toward the Knicks and the Lakers as much as they humanly can. And if they can't, they want to steer it to the title winner or the true title challengers and the highlight coaches. Getting them to talk about you is a feat. Getting them to talk and that goes for Memphis, that goes for OKC, that goes for us, that goes for Minnesota. For those markets to get them to talk about you is to me like a measure of success. You have
Mm.
forced yourself into the conversation. Do I care what they say? Absolutely not, because they are not watching games. They have no idea what's going on. They're watching like one game. They watched like the Clippers game and everybody snorted some coke off the table and was like, yeah, they're going to win the title. Look, it's cool that we got into the conversation. It's hilarious that like now we're the Western dark horse by everybody. We're everyone's Western dark horse. But look, they're all just borrowing each other's crap too. Like they hear like the smartest people talk about us and they're like, hey, they're right. There is a lot of matchups there. They do have a lot of guys. They are really consistent. It is a high defensive floor. They can match up with a lot of these teams. I'm taking it. I'm doing it. This is hot. Let's run it. They go sit down for the content meeting, the pre-production meeting. They're like, hey, what do we got for the A block? Pels is dark horse. Yeah, are we tired of talking about this? Yeah, Pels is dark horse. Somebody's got to disagree. Nope, sorry, it's all of us. Somebody just roast Perk for what he said in the past.
Look, I think that in all the small markets, I'm sure there's this sense of like in the NBA small markets, like we're disrespected. They don't treat us fairly. They only talk about the Lakers and Warriors. But in the New Orleans market, I will say like it does seem extreme of like I guess the desire for national media approval and anger at national media disapproval. Like whenever this happens, I'm always just like I don't know, why do you guys care so much? Like, you
It's
know,
an easy answer. It's a really easy answer. Of those small franchises we just talked about, the only one that's milestones previous to this are stars getting ripped away from them, and then the national media talking about how terrible the franchise is us. So
and do you
our
know
experience,
do
our
you know the
experience
way
with
to
them has been really
change?
negative.
Do you know the way to change the narrative?
Just win, baby.
To freaking win and not lose them and sign them to extensions and then win some more to like be
Yep.
a credible franchise.
Yeah,
That's the way you get people to talk positively about you.
sure.
Yeah.
But we're jilted and damaged by all of these same people. And Colin Cowherd's still here sticking a knife in you.
Yeah. I mean, not
I mean, look, anybody who doesn't understand like the content game part of this, where like they go in there and they're trying to say the thing that's shocking and that gets people's attention. Like they fight with each other over trying to say the most provocative thing they can. That's why it's fun to say the Pelicans right now, because it's just a little bit outside of expectation. Enough that if they say it right off the Clippers win, people will debate it. People will be like, oh, I don't know. They got a really tough run and they could really go under. But if we say it now, we're early. So people are going to talk about this. Like that's what they're doing. It's just like a little content equation. It's not that they actually care.
Okay, well, yeah, you gotta feel how you're gonna feel. I am having fun right now. The Pelicans are gonna be a winning team for 2 seasons in a row. I know it was only 42 and 40 last year, but this is gonna be high 40s. This is gonna maybe even get to 50. One of the things Willie Green talks about a lot over the years, and really since day one too, is like, I want to build a program. Like Willie Green and Griff and Trajan and Swin and Bryson and all those people have really like their vision is, a team that's sustainable, like kind of, what San Antonio was. And I don't know if they're over with a title here or anything. We'll see. But like what Oklahoma City is, like that's what they want to create here. They want to create a New Orleans version of it. And like this is the first time I can look at it and be like, okay, like I feel like there's a decent chance to do this. Like they've nailed some really crucial picks in the draft, and if you were a small market team, then you're just gonna have to win in the draft. That 2021 draft class really changed everything for this franchise, in my opinion. At getting Trey Murphy 17th, Herb Jones 35, Jose Alvarado undrafted free agent. You got 3 rotation players in one freaking draft. I don't know when that happens. It's not very often, but when I hear Willie say, trying to build a program, I look at him like, okay, like I'm I'm kind of buying it right now. I could see you guys doing that.
Like our guy that nobody wants to hear about, Ange Postacoglu. They this is the difference between like getting stuck where the Nets are and like reaching for more. Sometimes there has to be a level of patience and you have to let something build and percolate before you swing. And this goes to like when to burn the assets and swing on big assets and all this stuff, and like what goes into the Lakers pick deferral decision and all that stuff. Like you have to have a level of patience with all this, and there's tons of outside pressure saying don't. Everybody gets celebrated for wins right now, and there are things you can do to potentially get 2 or 3 more wins out of this season, but it hurts your potential to win over the next 3. Like there's a lot of debate about how good the Mavs deals were just now to add a bunch of fringe guys that I don't think anybody like individually is all that excited about. But they were so bad defensively in the bigs that it was like, hey, if we could at least like semi repair this, maybe we can like get out of the first round and then get frisky in the playoffs. But man, that's a tough spot to be in, to be burning your like last assets to bring in like C-level players. And that's what they're doing to try to just optimize at the fringes with minimal assets left to go back to. We have a lot of assets. We have a lot of ability to change things. We have a hefty price tag coming on contracts, but like we still have a lot of options, and it's good. And they were patient. They didn't do all the blowed up things. They still went out in the market and felt stuff out, though. They were still taking temperature on things all along the way. There were things that were debated. Some things got really far down the road, like scary. So, and we could do a whole podcast, and we probably should, on the things that didn't happen and how fortunate we are that they didn't.
Kyle Lowry. I mean,
Kyle Lowry, thank you, buddy.
oh,
Thank you,
Kyle
buddy.
Lowry.
Love you,
Yeah.
man.
Woo. Yeah, that was maybe a bullet dodged.
Oh, buddy. I mean, CP turned us down in the same offseason. Like, I know we didn't get to like he had an offer in hand, but we reached out to him, and it was like, I love Willie, but not going to happen. But like both of them, in hindsight, would have looked not great. And like even beyond that, like we just did a DeJounte Murray thing, and then look at where we are right now. Like I don't know that would have been great given what would have needed to happen. Like there's so many things that we were like kind of there, kind of like right there on, then went the other way, and thank God.
And it feels like we've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for the light bulb to go off for Zion. And it's too early. I'm not going to say the light bulb has gone off, but I am very optimistic about Zion and where he is at from a conditioning standpoint and a focus standpoint and a desire to win. And like, I even asked him after that Nets game, I was like, hey, you guys matched your win total from last season. Like you still got 14 games. Is that exciting? He's like, yeah, it's exciting, but we still have like bigger goals. And I'm like, good, nice.
I know you
He
love that.
he seems a guy that's like, yeah, like I want to win the playoffs this season. Like he seems like a guy who's like, I have the roster and I'm in a place where I can lead that roster. And They could make some noise. I mean, I feel like they have a chance to do it now.
I was probably more critical when we got like the Zion media answers after good games or after bad games or in press availability before seasons. I was very, very critical of how like packaged and rehearsed he sounded. I never buy into like the things he's saying when everybody else is like, yeah, like, oh, maybe this time, like, oh, yeah, he's saying the right things. It just all sounded really rehearsed and put on and like something somebody told him would be a good thing to say. And he like checked it out before he walked up to the mic. This feels authentic. It is the things that you want to hear, and there's forethought, there's depth of thought that is like visible in the types of answers that he is giving. Like when he gives that one, it's not just about the right now, it's not just about beating a win target from last year. It is about the goals that have been stated to us. 50 plus wins, win your division, try to get home court. Like it looks like the initial goals are heavily in sight. And now we can potentially set the stretch goal of get to fourth, get home court. And now that could be a thing they chase. And there's a possibility that they do that a little early. And then those last 3 games can really be fun because then you're able to hurt 3 teams that are sitting below you that are going to be all concerned with seeding. And you can go and bust them all up and make things more difficult for him. And God, that would be fun to have. Just the only stakes in there is like laying down some toughness on teams that are desperate, which God, what a great position that would be in. That would be to be in, especially over 2 of those 3 teams, having them be the Golden State Warriors and the LA Lakers, which by the way, I just booked my seats for that Lakers game. Was not going to let that one slide. So I will be in the house for that last game of the season, rain or shine, no matter what, because that's either going to be super important or it's going to be the funniest, just shellacking because we hate you. And and I can't miss it. Can't.
They're 42-26 right now. In order to get to 50 wins, they'd need to go 8-6 or better in their final 14 games. Do you think they're going to get there?
Sure do.
Ooh.
I think they're getting 4 out of the next 6.
50 would be meaningful. I mean, that would really mean something. I mean, the 07-08 team, 56 wins, winningest team in franchise history. After that, 49 wins was the most New Orleans team has ever gotten. Like, just to be the second most successful regular season team in New Orleans history, that's something. That is something.
I feel like the way it's going to shake out, I'm guessing, obviously, because this is all in the future. I feel like that Sacramento, that quintuple game sweep, feel like that's going to be number 50. I feel like that's how it's going to fall. I feel like that's going to be. I don't want it to be. I want it to happen ahead of time, but there, it's kind of a tough slate. You have to sweep the Suns. You have to get one of Bucks or Celtics. And the Bucks aren't the scariest team in the world right now. They did get Middleton back, so they're a little bit better. It's tough to get it super soon, but honestly, nothing feels impossible right now. Like any other time in the season, I'd have said there's no way they win this whole back-to-back coming up. I don't feel that way anymore. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they won both ends of the back-to-back. Like all of a sudden, that feels like something that's like I could borderline like be cautiously optimistic about.
He's drunk on Zion Williamson, Najee Marshall alley-oops, folks.
I am
Wasted on
sick.
him.
It was so sick. How did he get his hands on that? Just absurd. And so far behind his head, I was like, "Oh, Najee blew it," and then somehow the hand's all the way back here, and then it's in the. I don't know. How
I was loving looking like all the pictures of like the Pelicans bench when he was up in the air and had the ball cocked behind his head, and everybody's like, "No, he's not going to do that, is he?" Like Fred Vinson, Pelicans assistant coach, who does a lot of like the shooting work with guys, was like, "Oh," like doing an O face, like, "Oh my god."
The best. And the edited photo where they drop the lights in the background to make him in the court more dramatic. Oh,
yeah,
it's like that upshot and everything behind him is just darkness. Oh my god. Oh, it's so good. Just artwork. And our favorite NBA Twitter account this year, Art but Make It Sports,
Yeah, I saw that one. That
managed
was great.
managed to pull an abstract. We're very rarely in abstract territory, and that is how great Zion is. We got out of the medieval portraits and into abstract art. It is a blue slathering on a canvas. I was stunned. I was like, wow, he's so destructive that he broke us out of the Baroque period.
I mean, look, man, it did feel medieval in December. You had people on the team denying science, denying independent media and truth. And now we're in this place where we've transcended all of that, Adam.
Real missed opportunity for me to say he Baroque us out of the medieval period. Sad about that one.
All right. Well, I think they're going to get to 50 wins too. I think it's going to be an even 50. I think they're going to go 8-6. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, it's supposed to be me that's the one that's like more rampantly optimistic, right? I just really want that last 3 games. I desire it so badly. I want those last 3 games to just be like only for statement purposes, where like seeding's locked up, they got everything they wanted, and now it's just I'm gonna stick my foot on your throat for 3 games just to get everybody ready for the playoffs.
We're at the point in the season where I'm checking like playoffstatus.com every day. And according to that, it's like the most likely scenario is get the 5. And think the second most likely scenario is the 4, then the third is the 6.
That's
But
right.
it's looking like it's going to be, and we'll see. This could definitely
Clippers.
change, but it's looking like it's going to be a first round series against the Clippers, which
Mhm.
would be litty. It'd be fun to get to go out to LA for a couple days. It'd be fun. Like, can you imagine ending the Clippers season in the first round when they've got this aging built to win right now roster and they've got to move into the Intuit Dome next season and all this stuff. And, they're a second apron team and they owe these guys $1 billion on their payroll. I mean, that would be incredible.
A lot of franchises are monitoring Paul George. That's it's a fun storyline right there. A lot of
Hey,
franchises being like, we're monitoring the status. Hey, maybe we're monitoring the status of Paul George.
Philadelphia's cap space, man. Philadelphia, I
Hey,
think, is we're monitoring Paul George team.
everybody's monitoring Paul George. If he becomes available, every one of us is going to trip over ourselves to try and throw something at him.
The Pelicans
But
wouldn't.
hey, maybe you think?
I mean,
You think
you
so?
can't. Not
I
even
don't know.
possible. But
Is it? Maybe, possibly. But so knock out the Clippers, and then who looms most likely? The Oklahoma City Thunder. Give it to me. Give it to me. I want them both. I love the way that shakes out. Thank you, Denver. Please don't get the 1 seed. Stay out of there, Denver.
all right, Adam. Hopefully Zion blesses us with a couple more dunks on Thursday. I will be in attendance in Orlando. Thanks for doing this, buddy. Having a lot of fun right now. Appreciate you guys for listening.